Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Business Uncensored. What is Business Uncensored? We talk about business, but we don't really give a shit how we talk about business. And we're going to talk about certain aspects of business. And one of the things I love is bringing people on the show and learning the nitty gritty and some of the things you might not know about business. Now, online security, digital security, all of those things. I'm old as shit, so I just use the same password for everything. And I was just advised that might not be a good idea. And if you do that, stay tuned because we're going to find out why we're all wrong. And to tell us that is Maggie Dillon of Empress Security Insights. How are we doing today, Maggie?
I'm fantastic. I love how this is already going. I'm sitting here filing my nails while we're talking about this. So nice to be on the show. I'm excited. I do stuff like this for the record because I feel super overdressed. I just got done recording a very professional podcast. Not that yours isn't, and I totally regret just saying that. But
look, it's 50-50 if I have a shirt on, so you're
dressed
good.
Up just for you. It's kind of like one of those turtleneck, where it's like the fake turtleneck, and then I've just got yoga pants on the bottom. So.
Well, see, I'm wearing yoga pants too, so we're even. It's fine.
Perfect.
I steal them from my wife. They're crazy comfortable. I don't know why they can't make them for men. Well, I know why since I wear them, but yes, I know why. So let's talk about security. So my big first question that I usually ask people on this show, and back when it was the old show, Business, whatever that show was, I don't know what I used to call it, Small Business Chronicles. That's what it was. My first question is, why should we trust you? Give us some details about you and why you're an expert and why the rest of the show we should listen to what you say.
You shouldn't trust me, nor should you trust anybody. And I'm going to tell you why. There's a term called zero trust in our industry. And that means everybody. So if that's not an honest answer, I don't know what else is. Now, that being said, I'm as straightforward as it gets, and I'm too direct. Trust is a interesting word these days when we've got AI and robots and all these other things that we're working against. Is no longer humans against humans. So when I hear that question, my mind goes clear off into like Star Trek vibes. Okay. So, I don't know. Is that not an honest answer?
That's a very honest answer. I was flipping through some social TikTok Reddit something last night, and Boston Dynamics just released a new robot that's now that's all electric, no longer actuator or whatever. And the thing gets up like the girl out of the ring, right? Yeah. And goes and looks around. And my wife literally looks at me and goes, "Have they not fucking seen the Terminator? Like, why are we doing this?"
Exactly. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's in the last show I just recorded, the final question was, what keeps you up at night? And I thought, okay, well, I have a list of about 500 things, but we could just answer the first one. So that is one of them right there. Bingo.
Yeah. This is what keeps me up at night. There's a coffee shop next door, and this is usually full of cold brew, but I'm out.
Very nice.
But yeah, no, that's what keeps me up. But yeah, the AI thing, because I like AI, but I also understand. I think it's one of those things. You're stupid if you don't see what's coming, right? You understand that because like OpenAI and a lot of other ones on the face anyway, they have rules they have to abide by. And government are going to give them rules to abide by. And we as the people and they're going to go do whatever they want anyway. But on the other side of that, there are going to be more nefarious groups that may or may not be in our country that are not going to have the same rules, that are not going to have the same moral or be stuck in the same box other AI is. So what is it we should be looking for from like AI coming from these other places?
That's a really good question. And that's a problem we're still trying to figure out, if I'm being uncensored. It's interesting. There's always going to be a human element to AI. And I think something that a lot of the corporate world and businesses are not talking about, and I am so glad I am on this podcast, Ryan, I got to tell you, because now I can finally say what I really want to say.
Please.
And go from there. We're about to lose 300 million jobs across the globe due to this stuff. And I don't think the public at large realizes how critical this is. And in the same sense, though, this is a huge opportunity for people to learn new skills. And AI really is a great resource in the same aspect. I mean, think of, just what's happened in the last 8 months with ChatGPT. My God, and so I think that it's just a matter of people going back to their childlike curiosity and learning new things. I myself, I'm currently studying to become a certified trainer in quantum computing, so I can go out and teach this stuff to anybody that's willing to listen. I don't know if I can keep them awake or not, but I'm going to try and do my best. So it's interesting how the corporate world and businesses are trying to make it like the latest and greatest. Meanwhile, you're going to work yourself out of a job. AI is going to take over for you in 6 months, but we're not going to tell you that. There's these types of things going on, and it's disheartening. But at the same time, it's part of the reason I've grown my career in the angle that it's gone, and I'm partnering with very, very forward thinking organizations that are going to have sustainability employment wise. And I'd love to tell more about that as I do more podcasts and I get my brand out there. And also, and I'm going to, I will say this every time I get a chance to publicly, there are 19% of women that make up the cybersecurity industry. We need more, and we need her help. And that's where we're going to get a little bit more protection, in my opinion, with regards to human lives. And I'll stop there. So
No, that's fine. Well, I plan on talking about the business, like what the cybersecurity stuff is. No, and I agree. I heard a quote one time that lawyers right now aren't going to be replaced by AI, but they will be replaced by AI or lawyers that use AI. It's kind of like in today. I've got podcast editing down to like an hour and a half now on like a full professionally big time up whatever, and it's me running AI processes. It's not the AI processes. They just help and save time. When you write, I think that we're going to become a dumber nation for the simple fact of we can put in some grunts and hoots into AI and a couple different things, and then it tries to write this overwritten, eloquent, like college douchebaggy type paragraph for you. And what people do is they copy and paste that. They don't understand the vibe. They're like, hey, that's better than I could do, and put it out there. The dead internet. Are you aware of the dead internet theory?
I am. Yes.
Okay. So we're living that. Like 10 years ago, it was like, and if any of you that don't know, most of it, there's going to become a tipping point that most of the content we see is artificially generated, not by human beings. 10 years ago, they said that, and like, go get your tinfoil hat. I think it's like at 60% now.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more than that, but okay.
but I don't know. I mean, I scroll the news while I drink, so my numbers are always going to be a little off. So, but no, I mean, it is coming. The AI thing. I know that I started in marketing as a graphic designer. I knew that was a skill that I had and I could possess quickly and start entering the game while I learned all the other technical stuff on it. I use AI in my art and graphic design all the time now. Adobe has it, Chat GPT, Mid Journey, things like that. You can go in and you can be like, here's a logo, here's a thing, here's a this, here's a that, right? So I use it all the time. But in the last 6 months, it's come a long way. Like we are not walking with AI anymore. We are running.
Yes.
And it's not like some cable kind of went into satellite and streaming, and this took years. Like this took years to make that effective change. I think there's still people with cable. I don't know why, but anyway, and so you have these. AI is going at such a pace. We're not going to have that warning. We're not going to have that fade out. You're right. We're going to wake up one day and just all be out of jobs and have to figure something else out.
Yep. And there's two ways you can look at it. You can panic, give up now, toss in the towel, so to speak, or say, okay, I gotta put my thinking cap back on, my tinfoil cap, and partner with people that actually know what they're talking about. And it's interesting. You talked about ChatGPT and some of the writings and the content that's being released. So in 2022, I became a #1 international bestselling author, and I have vowed ever since then, all the content that I create is 100% by me. You're going to see potential errors. You're going to see misspellings, and I want it to be that way because I don't want a robot or AI writing things for me because of what you just said. And I think that also will vet me a little bit more. But I want to be real and relatable, and I think that AI is going to get to a point where it's not relatable anymore on a human aspect. So yeah, it might be the latest and greatest with technology and the things that can be offered. My God, they've got a fully automated McDonald's with robots now. I forget what country that was in. I think it was Germany. So now you're talking about
They are efficient.
Yeah. And you start thinking about all the industries that are going to be affected by that. And it's like, well, we have a lot of great skills as humans. So how do we leverage that? And get creative. It's time to really be entrepreneurs and chase your passions. And, I'm sorry, but AI is not going to create a painting like a human could of a human experience. It's just not going to be the same. And Yeah. There's a lot that really goes into those statements.
Well, there is, and as somebody that considers myself a very creative person, artist, I do all the design for my company, and I help train people in creativity and stuff like that. It is kind of cool that before I'd have to go get my tablet out and I'd have to draw and shade and I'd have to do things and do that artist. I'm going to see every mistake I make. Now I can go to Mid Journey and like make me a hippopotamus on a rainbow that does a this or a that, and
Hmm.
30 seconds later I have something just as good as I would have done, and it took me 45 seconds. I feel like at this point in my life using AI, I'm way more lazy than creative, and maybe I've always been that way. That, but I also think it's fun because one of my kids is not talented in art at all,
Hmm.
like at all. Skipped a generation, right? My mom's an artist. I skipped a generation. The fact that they can now have a creative outlet makes me
Right.
happy, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
and just thinking about that, what are art classes in school going to be like now?
right?
No,
They're
and I think people forget the main element of art. Art is about healing, and a lot of artists will, musicians, photographers, any type of thing. I love what you said as far as what you can create with AI from a creative standpoint in the artwork. Especially if you're working on work projects or
yeah.
building a business and marketing, it's perfect for that. But when we start talking about our own mental health and who we are as individuals, art is so critical. That creativity and that creative element is so critical to our healing process and overall just well-being. And AI can't recreate that, in my opinion. They just can't,
Do do
until
you
we
find
unlock
it?
it in our heads. So,
Do you find it funny or weird or scary that the things AI started going after first were exactly the things that you talked about?
oh,
The art, the art, the music, the things that make us humanity. No, but I love my job and I don't want to come in here and sit at this damn desk all day and do the things that I do every day. And I love my job.
right,
Work is work. That's why it's called work. But it seems like AI is, and it's bleeding over into the work, but it seems like a lot of the major things that AI is coming for is the few of us that broke out of and was able to design or live by art or creativity. That
right.
seems to be like the first thing AI went after.
Well, yeah, because if you control that, you control the narrative. So,
I'm no, and I'm going to go down this whole rabbit hole with you because I
yeah,
am not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a very literal person and very whatever. But I understand that the thing where I don't feel like a conspiracy theorist is it's there. You can literally see that it's there because you've got Facebook trying to shut down TikTok for doing the same thing they're doing.
yeah,
It's just because they can't do it.
yeah.
Right. And this AI generated, this AI, whatever, Facebook has controlled the narrative for years. Now we have a competitor control the narrative. Now they're trying to fight it. Then they're fighting over AI. They're fighting. So we're seeing this unravel in real time.
Hmm. Well, and it's interesting. So I will go ahead and say this. I'm pretty middle of the road when it comes to conspiracy theories, and my father is a truther, and he has been eerily accurate on so much over the years. But that being said, I've also worked for the government, and I've climbed the ranks as an entrepreneur and some of the things that I've been involved with. So there's truth to both sides, and
Of course.
I think it's very easy to lose your marbles. You start going down those rabbit holes
Hmm.
really quick. I mean, we've seen all sorts of crazy things, but
Yeah.
um, I will say back to what I originally said, the controlling of the narrative from a creative standpoint is a huge, it's not funny, it's scary, but also it gives me hope in a sense on the flip side of that, because I'm like, they knew what to go for because it was the most important, which shows us what we all really should spend our time doing, is creating and enjoying time with our families and our friends and building relationships, the things that we used to do hundreds and thousands of years ago, versus being stuck to devices all day and going to jobs
Yes.
all day and making money all day. So yeah, this is a
Yeah.
rabbit hole for sure.
I've always felt that way, depending on which scientist and what you believe. I'm not trying to get in any of those debates. Humans have been around anywhere from a couple 100,000 years, whatever. And from my understanding of science, because I wasn't there, I'm not that old, is that if a human being from 200,000 years ago sits down next to my desk, physically they're no different than we are. There's
Exactly.
not been any major evolutionary change between me and Bobo the cave dude, right?
Mhm.
We're Homo sapiens. We're the same thing. Our brains are wired the same. Our bodies are the same, or whatever. And what did he do? He wandered around, was a hunter gatherer, was doing all that. What do? I look at screens literally all day
Yeah.
long.
Yep.
I don't exercise. I think out of the last 10 meals I had, 6 of them came from something with arches. And it's, and and I wonder why I'm depressed, or I drink, or I do this, or I do that. I just think that our humanity is going away. The evolution of technology is way outrunning the evolution of who we are.
I think yes and no, and I would say that because I think that there's a massive societal shift going on.
Mhm,
And I'll say it here: I used to not pay attention to what I ate or what I put into my body in that sense, and have really completely shift directions with regards to that. Believe it or not, Ryan, I used to weigh almost 400 pounds. I lost 165 pounds. I've kept it off for 12 years now, and you know when I really decided to start putting my health first, it came at a cost in other areas, because you can try to fix things on a physical standpoint, but if you don't fix your head, you're only going to get so far, because
right.
repeated cycles happen, right? And so a lot of the things that I struggled with mentally, especially, it kind of kicked off when I went into this industry, and thinking about the doomsday and the Terminator
Mhm,
scenes, and because I mean it's a very real thing and it's a very real possibility. And maybe this is going to sound really naive to say, but that underdog story of, who controls my mind? Me. I get to
mhm.
feed myself social media.
Yeah.
I get to feed myself my time and my time management. I get to decide what I want to subscribe to or believe, and, determine what I want to spend my free time doing. Do I want to exercise? Do I want to eat healthy? What do I want to spend my money on? Do I really want to waste it on booze? No. Do I want to spend it on actual trips and going and making memories? Yes. Things like this. And so I think that when you put the pandemic into play, everything that's going on with the government and across the world, people killing babies and horrible things that they're doing to one another, most of the globe is depressed right now. They're
Mhm.
they're looking down this horrible rabbit hole thinking it's time to give up, when it takes people and platforms like this to say, no, it's not. It's not over. Pick your head up, focus. We got shit to do and we got to move forward.
I,
So
I I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think one of the big things, and this is totally nothing what we planned on talking about, yeah, by
I
the
know.
way, but one of the things is globalization on some ways works really well, but let's talk about 200,000 year old dude Bobo the caveman that's
Mhm.
the same as me. He only knew what was in front of him existed.
Yep.
Right? He didn't know what was going on in China. He didn't know what was going on in Sweden. He didn't know what was going on in Ukraine. He knew what was going on in front of him. I
Mhm.
don't know that we're supposed to know what's going on in every corner and every piece and every village and every house in the world.
Ding,
You
ding, ding.
know?
Yep.
But I find it much happier when I throw my phone out. I live in the middle of banjo country. So when I go float tripping or camping or doing what, I'm not that outdoorsy of a guy. I just got to disconnect sometimes.
Yep.
Right. I
Absolutely.
feel that kind of come back. But when I wake up and start my day with news while I'm brushing my teeth and hear about the atrocities and wherever the atrocities are going on, because they never stop, and then we have a weird political climate which never stops, and
Right.
then we have and all of these things. But I think the humans are wired, we want to know these things, so it's kind of like a snake chasing its tail, just constantly depressing ourselves, which brings me back to your point. A lot of people don't know that they're in control of what goes into their body.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think people are forgetting liberation via yourself is one of the easiest and most critical things at the same time we can do as a human. My special person's here visiting me for the next couple of weeks, and I have hardly picked up my phone, tapped into social
Mhm.
media, looked at news events, nothing. I swear to you, I'm damn near springing out of my bed every morning. And do you know why? Because I'm not tapping into toxicity every day. And
Right.
and and again, I work in cybersecurity. a lot of toxicity when we're constantly hearing about hackings and people stealing money with ransomwares and, trying to keep the world safe and put our nose in places it doesn't belong. But at the same time, when I clock out for the day, what do I get to do? I get to decide, what do I want to focus on? Do I really want to pick my phone up and look into it? Or do I want to go burn some calories and blow off some steam?
Right.
There's just a lot of things that I think people don't realize. You have so much more power than you give yourself credit for. And keep in mind, the more you focus in on these devices, the more you're being brainwashed.
Oh, of
And
course.
you know, and it's as simple as that. People try to make things so complicated. It's analysis paralysis. So,
Yeah, and no matter how much strong-willed you think you are, no
yep.
matter how whatever you think you are, you're not. You may be better than that guy, right? But you're not as strong as you think you are. Because I know that I have to filter the news that I watch, what I do, how yeah, it's kind of like I come from the generation. I love video games. That's kind of how I relax because now I've turned all my hobbies into a career for some dumb shit reason. But so I had to go find something else to do, and so I know that if I play a video game like Grand Theft Auto, or if I do something or a race car game, when I get in the car, my immediate reaction is let's race,
Okay.
right? When I
Yep.
get right. So it's because that I'm sitting here in this mode. My brain is let's race, let's go, let's do this. That when I actually go into the real world, I'm compelled to feel like I'm going to do these things. What's the difference between you, social media, TikTok, whatever? If you're putting that in, now
Yep.
that doesn't mean I'm anti those things. I'm not anti those, but the algorithms, the things that we do, and the way that they're presented to us. Because I have a saying: people are silly gooses, right? And what I mean by that is we're all dumb as shit and we're not very self-aware. And so these algorithms and these things overtake us because we're not paying attention and we're not doing those things.
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's like a really good visual of what you just described makes me think of you're a mile off of shore out in the ocean and you see a boat. Is the boat anchored or is it floating free? Who has the decision to pull the anchor up? The person driving the boat, right? So it's apples and oranges, but I also think, I have a totally separate, my passion that I don't talk about on a professional level. I've got a platform that has just really gone through the roof. I actually got phenomenal news today that I'm going to be on a podcast regarding that. But my passion, so yours is racing. My passion is helping people. I have hurt myself to that detriment because I used to be all about people pleasing and, constantly trying to, how can I make everyone happy with me and my performance, where now it's okay, no, let's get down into the bottom of the barrel where you're standing in a pile of crap with your life, whether that's mental, physical, or emotional. Let's talk about it and how can I help you see the light and work back up towards that. Now I'm not a licensed professional, but I do have gifts as far as communication and I have empathy and compassion. But at the same time, people are energy vampires. And
Mhm.
so it's my focus is when I go back out into the real world, whether I go to the grocery store or I'm having a phone call, I'm constantly in the back of my head, how can I help this person? How can I help this person? And I have to shut that down sometimes because I have to have my own boundaries, so it's interesting to hear just, from you and, or from anybody, whether it's man, woman, whoever, what are you constantly thinking of? What's the one area that you always focus on? How does social media or devices tie into that? And are you using it to better the world or not really better the world? I think people aren't cognizant of these types of things.
Well, it's good that your passion is to help people. And just to clarify, my passion isn't necessarily racing; it's keeping my mind busy so I don't stand in traffic. That's kind of my passion.
I got that.
So,
I think that. I know what you
but
meant.
no, but no, I own a networking group. It's called Cigars and Scotch, right? And right after we get done here, that's where I'm going. And basically, we set up behind a brewery, smoke cigars and day drink, and talk about business.
Hmm.
It's a really cool networking group, but we felt the need to give back. So in the last 2.5 years, 2 years, we've raised over $100,000 for charity by throwing music festivals and doing stuff like that. Because I do feel that helping people starts with what's outside your front door.
Yep.
When you walk out, the homeless guy, the guy struggling with mental health, the teenage girl that doesn't know where to go because she doesn't have a good role model, all of these things, that's where you improve your life. That's where you improve the world around you, not sending chunks of money to this person or donating to this national giant charity is what you do is you walk out your front door and you start unfucking the world around you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's, I giving is one of the most rewarding things ever. It feels so good to give. But, when you start thinking about, I'm getting divorced and I have to give all of my assets to this person that I can't stand, totally different story, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, absolutely. And I'd be interested, what kind of charities have you donated to?
So the one that Cigars and Scotch does, it's called LAF. The town I live in is called Lebanon.
Mhm.
And it's called Lebanon Area Foundation. And what they do is they write grants to several charities. Now, when rich people die, what they do is put shit to annuity and goes into there, and we have ongoing stuff.
Mhm.
So basically what we do is, because I'm a marketing guy, I also sell sponsorships. We go rent a stage, we put it right in the middle of downtown and get the whole city to shut down for a day. And we haggle with the bands, lowest price possible, and everything that so as soon as we pay for it, everything else that we raise goes straight to them. And so we've got some decently sized companies here for a small town. We're so cool. We're the number one aluminum boat manufacturer in the world. So Tracker boats are made here. Um, you know,
Okay, it's funny we were talking about this before we were recording. So
yeah,
Springfield, the reason
yes.
I was there because the person I was with, their hometown was Lebanon. So now I'm even tripping even more because I'm like, oh my god, I know exactly what you're talking about. but, but if it makes you feel better, my hometown where I'm currently at, our claim to fame is this is where Johnny Appleseed is buried. So yeah,
Aw,
yeah, I know. Isn't that a cute little tidbit?
was he real? Like, I'm gonna be a dumb shit here
Yeah,
for a second.
John
Was he an
Chapman. Yeah,
actual real person?
for real person. Yes,
Oh,
yes. Hmm. There you
I
go.
never knew
Learn
that.
something every day.
So wait, this episode is already derailed, but I love it. So Lebanon, what? So you were in Lebanon,
I was, yes, Lebanon, Springfield, the Ozarks, and then I
okay?
also traveled. I traveled a lot out there in
Yeah,
Missouri, or Misery as I call it. I'm sorry. Uh, traveled out there quite a bit for business too, so very familiar.
yeah. So yeah, you because yeah, I moved back here. I got to live all over, and I came back here. I recently got remarried, and we looked at moving a lot of different places. And I'm like, I hate to say it, but we're like we don't have a lot of crime. We don't have a lot of craziness here. It's a little weird, I guess, from where I've lived in the past or whatever. But I like it. I'm really involved with my community. I work with the city. I work with the downtown district and the Chamber of Commerce, and I teach free marketing classes and all of those things. Because I'm just trying to make the areas that I can make better.
Yeah. Well, and I think for me, I would have liked it better if the organization that I was working for, it was just a really hard experience traveling to that state at the time because I had a lot of parameters that I was actually recruiting doctors to do pre-discharge exams for the soldiers coming back from Iraq and
Yeah,
Afghanistan. So Fort Leonard Wood, it was just really difficult because we were at the peak of the backlog for the VA. And then also the person that I had previously traveled out there with, it just was not good times. We were going back for funerals and that type of thing. So that being
yeah.
said, beautiful though. I'm a huge
Oh yeah.
hiker and
Hmm.
outdoors person, and the Ozarks in particular are absolutely outstanding. Got some really good hikes in there. So I'm sorry if I offended you by what I just said, but
Oh, you didn't
I'm just
offend me.
talking about my
You
experience. Like, man, I wish I would have had better experiences when I traveled there. So.
anybody that's watched that show Ozark, that's kind of what it's like here.
Mhm.
So there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, fair.
But I'm within 45 minutes of some of the best hiking in the country, and we've got a national park, Bennett Springs, which is this giant national park right down the road, or state. I
Yeah,
think it's a state park, but anyway.
been
So
there.
we have all these things like so you know exactly where it's at. So
Yeah,
it's great. So cybersecurity.
yes. Segue.
Segway. It's a Segway like a brick wall. The interesting thing about Segway is the guy that invented the Segway died on a Segway. So,
I know.
he rode it off of
Back
a
to
cliff.
them too.
And uh he really did.
Yeah.
Uh so um so in cybersecurity, because I know it's not like this one hard thing of change your password and like I did the setup or whatever. What are some of the things that common folk like me don't understand that's wrapped up in the world of cybersecurity?
Oh my, what a open-ended question. The hacking techniques are so sophisticated now, even I have a hard time deciphering. And the book that I wrote was on hacking. So, it's the way they're able to build backdoors in to things that you would never even think of. I mean, let's talk about this. Where are all of our phones produced?
Yeah, China.
Okay, backdoor immediately coming to our country via the hardware, let alone the software, let alone the human element to it. So we're already being hacked from day one. And then also, phishing scams. You would think people would use common sense. It happens all the time, whether it's through an email or a text messages. I mean, how
Mm-hmm.
many texts do you get where you think, oh, this is about, even one of the more recent ones that we heard was a public notification that either your police department or whatever would send out like a missing child report or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They were able to hack the entire region, set out an emergency alert. Well, actually, it was a hack. So when people clicked on it, it then accessed all of their devices. I mean, these are the horrible things that these hackers are doing. Now, for those who may not be aware, there's three different types of hackers, the good, the bad, and then the kind of in between. But it's a money making business. It's all about money. And these people are not just doing it because they want to, steal your information and get, into your data. They are being paid to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's just a lot of different angles that people can get into your information. I mean, there's so many data leaks that it's hard to keep up with anymore. But I think it's just about self-education, and to your regard that we were talking about, looking at social media and looking at these updates, educate yourself through that. The more you hear about some of these stories, the more you're going to know. It's we just saw a hospital system, not a hospital, an entire hospital system had to close its doors because of a phishing scam that one of their executives clicked on an email, and they got in and completely ran amok on the system, and the whole hospital had to close down. The whole system had to close down. So now you're talking about people needing emergency care that can't get it locally because of something as simple as that. So it's wild what's kind of going on right now.
So a couple things on hacking, because I understand so I understand that on hacking, after bank accounts, money, stuff like that. But I'm trying to figure out how to form this question. So like you said, yes, anytime you agree to a terms of service on anything, right? Anytime that you go, anytime you agree to terms of service on anything, you're basically going, yeah, track me. You can have all my data. Here's my credit card information. Here's my whatever. Right. That's just in the terms of service. Mm-hmm. So when people are hacking, what are they after? Since Apple collects all this data, or Facebook's, are they trying to go in and steal that data from Facebook? I mean, outside of the normal stuff, like getting your bank accounts. What are people that would hack somebody like me? What are they looking for? Because I feel like I have no value to them whatsoever, so I don't really care. Why should I care?
I'll give you a really twisted and sick example, but this is a huge deal. A hacker could be paid to hack your cell phone to go through your photo gallery. Should you have a picture of your child on there, they'll take an image of your child, put it through an AI system, put the head of your child on a naked child's body, and sell it to child trafficking or pornography, things of those horrible criminal natures. Something as simple as that. And they would get paid to do that. There's also like what you're talking about, getting into the data, stealing the finances. Mm-hmm. That's pretty basic. People trying to steal your social security number, things of that. Identity theft is all huge, obviously.
Of course.
Hackers can also get paid to hack your information to potentially get information like codes and passwords to buildings, should they want to break in and steal items. There are a huge gamut of business data in and of itself. Hacking government entities to get into very top secret files regarding war, and cyber warfare and things of this nature. So, I mean, there's so many different angles that anybody could be hacked. But for yourself specifically, I mean, I would say the basic average person, you're looking at identity theft, financial theft, or unfortunately, to steal your images for other purposes.
So for these bigger things like government buildings, big accounts, stuff. So are they, how do I form this? Are they using a shotgun approach because they can have my building code? There's like one office here and it's me. So are they using a shotgun approach? So let's say they hack me, they hack you, they hack 17 other people, and only 2 of them are value, but they're using the shotgun approach and just hacking everybody and kind of bringing in all that information to see what matters.
Correct. Not only to do it, to hack and get the information they're looking for, but then to resell the data.
So we think of these people that are buying the data as these little like guys with burglar masks in a coffee shop somewhere, and like, yeah, I'm gonna get.
Oh
So yeah. But I mean, that's kind of the image. Like if you watch Mr. Robot and you watch, that's kind of the image they give us.
right.
Who are these people that are buying all these data and paying people to hack in outside of government bullshit?
People that look like you and me, you know, I'd say the same type of thing as criminals you would find in a jail or a prison. You know, there's no differentiate of what they look like. But I would also say there's a lot of crooked business owners. There's a lot of people in power that, you know, have this portrayal of who they are on the outside. And when in fact, they're making money off of things that you just described. So I think something that is a huge concern that I've seen in my experience so far is a lot of organizations, enterprise all the way down to startup companies, don't have any parameters in place for drills of what happens when a breach happens, or what happens when you have a ransom attack, or what happens, you know, if a phishing scheme happens, anything of this nature. You know, you got to think about these companies. They look at cybersecurity as kind of like an insurance policy. Oh, well, you know, if we get hacked, or if this were to
Mhm.
happen, or if our data center were to be locked out, you know, things of this nature, then we'll do this. Well, you know, that's like saying I'm not going to have insurance, and then I'm in a car accident, and oops, now I can't get any, you know, medical care paid for. So I see a lot of these organizations, they don't have any type of fire drills, so to speak, in place with their, you know, their teams. They don't have anything documented properly so that they can get recouped from the insurance companies, you know, if something were to happen. And then more importantly, and I'm not just talking about organizations, I will go ahead and say it, state and local entities in particular are some of the worst I've ever seen. And I'm saying that because I want to help. You know, I can, I'm not going to say who, but I recently talked to a chief information officer of a town that was probably about 350,000 people. And these people are still using Windows 7 and promoting it on their budget for 2024. Oh my God, they have nothing locked down for their courts, their jails, their public information, their any of their divisions for the city, and yet this person still has a job. This is not okay when the taxpayers are paying their salary. You know, so there's a lot of frustration that goes into it, and more importantly, I think people are scared to talk up about it. Well, you know, I guess maybe I'm a whistleblower, so to speak, but also I know what I'm talking about, and I'm here to help. So what are we going to do?
Yeah. And on the phishing, before we have to wrap up on the phishing, because I kind of went back and I got it in your face and I said, I think the American public or just people in public are silly geese. Like we just aren't self-aware. We aren't smart. Some of the phishing scams that I get in my email, you know, they're doing them because they work.
Yep.
That's the only reason they would do them, is because they work. I remember I worked at a company one time and we had a database. We had 8 locations and our database got ransomware out because of a phishing scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Is because somebody got in there, changed the password, locked everything down. We went to the FBI and the FBI said, well, pay it or lose your data. There's really not a whole lot we can do about it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So on a couple of the things of phishing, because some of them that I see is very, very blatant. You know, it's like, hey, your Facebook's been compromised, and they go through email. And there's been a big push of these safes going, hey, unless we do this, it's not. But is there a cure to phishing, or is that really going to be the main way people are doing this for the rest of the time humans have a cell phone?
I think as technology expands, there's going to be more remedies to help get rid of it, or parameters, you know, security measures that can be put into place. But the biggest thing that is only going to fix it is education. You know, and getting the word out and teaching people to be more protective of what they're clicking on. You know, I think I just talked about this in the last podcast that I recorded is when we think of criminals or people that intend us harm, it's seeing is believing. If you walk down the street and you see someone that looks suspicious, you automatically kind of get, you know, stand up on edge. You're a little bit more
Yeah.
protective of your surroundings. You're paying attention. Well, when you can't see that, it's out of sight, out of mind. And so how do we convince the public to understand just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there, and to operate just as much as you would seeing someone that looks suspicious on the street with what you're clicking on, whether it's your phone, your iPad, your computer, these touch screens out in public. You know, another thing that drives me insane is these codes where you get your phone up and then you click and you take a picture of a menu just so that it can pull up on your phone and they can get your email and everything. Well, that's one of the most easily hacked things, you
Of
know?
course.
So it's just being a little bit smarter and Uh, you sound like you don't have a lot of faith. So I don't know.
No, none at all. None.
Answer.
As long as Kardashians exist,
Oh
and as
Lord.
long as like Bachelor's like the #1 show in America, then we're how do I say this eloquently fucked? That's just not. I don't think, because all it takes is one, right? All it takes, you can have one person in the right position. I don't know if you know what the Peter principle is.
Uh-huh.
Um, so if you at home don't know what the Peter principle is, it says somebody will be promoted until they run out of steam. Basically, so if I go from mailroom to middle management and I'm not smart enough to get over middle management, that's where I stop and die. Well, the old school way of promoting people, no one can rise above that dude because he's there. So all you got to get is one of those people that go right into that little peak of power, right? That doesn't understand phishing, and your whole company gets brought down.
Yep.
That's and correct me if I'm wrong. That's how it happens. It's literally and the only thing that we can do to get rid of that is get rid of Peter. like that's that, because you talk about education and you talk about informing. Yes, that's going to work for some people. That's absolutely going to work. I know from when I worked in insurance, I had to take a ton of different,
I bet.
like a ton of different classes about phishing schemes, what this looks like, how to do this. So I'm very well educated. I get stuff all the time, all the time, all day, every day. And I'm like, oh, whatever. But that one guy that hasn't had that experience or doesn't help or has topped out in that level, yeah, no, I don't have any faith at all, because if it didn't work, they wouldn't push so hard to do it.
Right.
The hackers, I mean.
Absolutely. No, it's let's go back to your caveman your mention there. It will truly be survival of the fittest at some point, for better or for worse,
Yes.
technology
Yes.
or not. So
Yes.
you bet if you weigh 400 pounds, you better start losing some weight so you can outrun your adversaries. And I'll just leave
Yeah.
that there. I mean,
Yeah. I mean,
it's pretty.
that's what it comes down to,
Yeah, absolutely.
and I think what you do is you minimize that risk. I think you minimize that risk the best you can minimize that risk. And I'm not trying to say anything against you by pointing
No,
out, as long as Peter exists, but we're all going to be in trouble. But people like you minimize those risks. They help people like me that can learn, and to make sure that I'm not the Peter that's getting things done, and to have that education. So I
well,
appreciate you and what you do. So
thank you. And isn't it a conundrum, how we just kind of talked about the circle of life here, because
yeah,
it's like I I'm anti-government. I come from a truther. I believe in conspiracy theories. Yet I'm working these contracts. I'm working with these people that ultimately are the people that I don't trust. I'm in an industry that
right,
we operate on zero trust. Yet
right,
I'm one of the people that gets contacted to donate to charities all the time, that loves to help people. And then I
right.
go on a podcast talking to people like yourself, which I love this. Thank you for having me, by the way.
Yes, you're very
But
welcome.
these are the conversations that have to happen. How do we take all of these like-minded thoughts and just talking out loud, and how do we come together? Because at the end of the day, again, it will truly be us versus AI and us versus robots, and humans
Mhm.
have more power than they think they do. So I love this. I love that this was uncensored. This honestly is my very first uncensored podcast. So thank you so much, because I
You're
finally
very
feel
welcome.
able to not be so salesy or promotional or anything like
Right.
that. Just be a real person. And like you, I'm a country girl. So I
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
I'm not a country girl, but
Oh,
yeah, we're pretty similar except for that.
Ozark
Uh,
boy, whatever.
Ozark boy. But yeah, they call it the human condition, and they also call sickness conditions. I think that's why they also call it that. And you're right. If we can come together and we can come, and my tinfoil hat thing is, I do think our world is made to make us divisive and tribal. And that's what it's always going to be. That's what Bobo the caveman over here, that's what he did. They fought, they were divisive, they were tribal. If you were different, we didn't like you. And I think I think that's another thing in your world that is probably hard to fight, is because as long as there's divisiveness, we can't educate each other. So
Yeah, absolutely. So it is what it is. And in the meantime, all you can do is just focus on your own, mind, body, soul, as
yep.
brouhaha as that might sound, but it's truly, like I said, all I know is lately I'm hopping up out of bed, drinking the Kool-Aid that is life, and enjoying my time here while I can. And in the meantime, if I can help some people along the way, then all the better.
Me too. I'm going the opposite way. I'm turning into either George Carlin or Charles Bukowski. One of those two people are who I'm turning into as I
Hey,
get older.
I'll be watching you from
So
a nursing home, so either way it'll work.
either way, All right, Maggie, give all the pertinent details how to continue this conversation with you. That's what I like to tell people is how do we continue individually this conversation that we just had, because that's what this is all about. So tell us how to reach out.
Absolutely. So everyone can find me on LinkedIn, Maggie Dillon. Shoot me a message there. Also, I always offer up my Instagram account, which kind of is an encompass of everything we've talked about here, which is championship_energy. Those are my two favorites, and I'll just stop there. So you have to come find me.
Absolutely. And my name is Ryan Scheer. This has been Business Uncensored. Business Uncensored is brought to you by Titan Media Works. Do you want your very own podcast because there's not enough in the world and you feel you need to fit in this space? But since there are so many, you want to excel above the rest. But where's your time going to come from to do this? That's what my company does. We do start to finish podcasting, whatever you want done, whether it be production help, strategy, equipment. I'll zoom in and help you set up a studio, design all your graphics, get you launched and where you need to be. Now, we use podcasts a little bit differently than other people. Your message, and we design these from the ground up. We come from an Inc. 5000 marketing company. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at who's your preferred audience, who's your perfect audience, what message you're trying to get out, who you're trying to reach. We're going to design your podcast from that point to make sure that you're successful. And we're going to on-go with strategy, with marketing and everything else. So if you're wanting your very own podcast and you want to be successful doing it, that's Titan Media Works. Works is with an X. Or you can email me at Ryan@TitanMediaWorks. And hopefully my minions put all that information in the show notes because nobody's going to write this shit down. So, but until next time, thank you so much again for stopping by, Maggie.
Thank you. I appreciate it.